Welcome to week 2, where two of the game's best young quarterbacks battled there in Lambeau. Jaden Daniels and Jordan Love are both 1-0. The Packers 3.5-point favorites. Daniels will have to deal with the force that is Micah Parsons on this Green Bay defense. Settle in, folks. An amazing night of football is on the way. We will get you ready for all of it right here on NFL Live. And glad that you have joined us here. Jeremy Fowler is in Wisconsin for tonight's game, and he joins us now. Yes, I just did a pivot. Jeremy, I almost fell over too. What should we know about Micah Parsons' back issues? And in a short week of prep, how much do we actually expect to see him on the field tonight?
Laura, well, the Commanders expect Parsons to not only play, but play more snaps than he did last week when he logged 29 snaps. So the Packers are trying to ease him in over the last few weeks. They don't want to overdo it. They have enough players where they can bring him in rotationally, but Parsons has been lobbying behind the scenes for more snaps. So you could see Green Bay take the tarp off the Ferrari at least a little bit more. Now, Jaden Daniels welcomes any and all pass rush. I talked to teammate Frankie Louvu. He said Daniels loves the bright lights of a game like this. Now, in the Packers offense, dealing with some issues on the offensive line. Both Aaron Banks and Zach Tom, the right tackle, did not practice at all in this short week due to injury, so they could be out. I'm told Tom is dealing with oblique pain. He wants to play, is trying to fight through it, but Green Bay could keep it cautious. They have Darian Kennard, Jordan Morgan that can fill in those spots. But regardless, Laura, Josh Jacobs wants to tote that rock. I spoke to Jacobs this week. He said that he told Matt LaFleur personally that I'm ready for a big workload, and that getting a Thursday night game this early in the season is a blessing for a running back.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, the workload's certainly something to look out for there for Josh Jacobs. Maybe some fantasy owners paying attention. By the way, the Commanders have not won in Green Bay since 1988. For reference, that was the year I was born, so that's 36 years ago. All right, Jordan Love has not thrown an interception in his last 8 starts. That's one shy of Aaron Rodgers in 2018. For the longest streak by a Packers quarterback since 1970, he had 23 picks in his first 26 career starts. For reference, Love has an 83 QBR in his last 8 starts, which is the best in the league and over 20 points better than his first 26 starts. You see the improvement already from Jordan Love. He's been great, but there are some questions about the Packers O-line. You just heard Jeremy reporting on that, Dan. That's I agree. It perked my ears up. What do you make of all that?
Yeah, it's concerning because if you watched last week in this Washington front, the guy that's popped was Javon Kinlaw.
Oh, man.
And so you got to have a plan to at least get started with Kinlaw. Now, Deron Payne's still there. Dorrance Armstrong was good. Johnny Newton good. But Kinlaw was, in many ways, like a game wrecker. And so I think if you're the Packers, before potential injuries to your offensive line, it was a huge thought of, okay, where's Kinlaw? Are we going to single him? Are we going to double him? He was a big problem for the Giants' offensive line, both in the run game and the pass game. That is something to pay attention to tonight. Can they handle Kinlaw on the interior, both run and pass?
And to your point, with how well he played, it allowed the guys around him to play really good. Dietrich Wise, the guys they brought over from New England, he had multiple pressures. So I look at this Commanders team, they love to play man-to-man, and they're going to get those opportunities to do so. So when they do that, can they cover up these wide receivers? And then for the Commanders, can you get that pressure with just 4, not forcing you to have to blitz? Because the thing is with Jordan Love, as we've seen, is when you do get pressure on him, that's when the mistakes start to happen. Sure. When he has time in the pocket, when he's able to get outside and get the throws off platform and all of those fun things, then we love the player that he is. But in this game, when he has pressure on him, he's forced to make a decision like right here, Anzalone should be intercepting his ball going the other way. So I think it comes down to that. To your point, can you stop Kinlaw? Can you stop the pressure? And then what are the decisions that Jordan Love is going to make when the pressure does get close to him?
Yeah, and Peter, no guy really separated himself at wide receiver from the pack. See what I did there last week? Is that a positive or a negative for Jordan Love?
They're perhaps unlike any other wide receiver room in football in that although they drafted someone in the first round, there's 31 flavors. You have to account for everybody. 10 different players caught passes for the Green Bay Packers last week. Only one of them caught 3 passes or more. So if Jordan Love's going to throw the ball all over the yard to 10 different guys, who do you prepare for? Is tonight the Dontavian Wicks game? Is it the Jaden Reed game?
Yeah.
Or is it the Matthew Golden game, who only had 2 catches for 16 yards, but we have been hearing so much about throughout the summer? I think it's an advantage. There's a lot of been made that they don't have a true number 1. Well, they have 9 number 2s, if you will.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, how do you prepare for that as a defensive coordinator? Let's see what Joe Witt Jr. has in store.
Yeah, the Green Bay offense, Washington defense, so much tonight will come down to like matchups. You know, the matchup of How are you going to block certain guys in the front? The matchup of how are you going to pick up Bobby Wagner when he's a pressure guy or Frankie Louvu when he's a pressure guy? Who matches up offense?
Yeah.
Exactly. Secondary-wise, are you trying to get guys on a Trey Amos who's a young player? I don't really think going after Sanders is a big or a great opportunity because he's a really nice player. So it's like trying to find those matchups on either side will be the chess game when it comes to Green Bay offense, Washington defense.
Not many better at a chess game than Matt LaFleur either.
Totally.
So you love to see it. All right, let's get to some top stories with Adam Schefter joining us now. And Shefty, let's start with Brock Purdy. Where do things stand on that injured left shoulder?
Laura, Kyle Shanahan said it was a long shot that Brock Purdy would be able to play on Sunday. John Lynch, the general manager, was even more certain that Purdy wouldn't play on Sunday. So it looks like it will be Brock Purdy at least Sunday and probably longer, because Kyle Shanahan also said that Purdy could miss multiple weeks. Coaches don't talk like that unless there's a realistic chance it's going to happen. So get ready for a little taste of the Mac Jones show for the 49ers. As for the Buffalo Bills' outstanding defensive tackle, Ed Oliver, who played a great game last week against the Baltimore Ravens, he was spotted today in a walking boot, riding a scooter, and listed as a did not practice. In a week where the Bills are taking on the run-heavy New York Jets, they're going to need Ed Oliver, and it looks like there's a realistic chance they might not have him. Meanwhile, in Tampa, Chris Godwin returned to practice for the first time since suffering his ankle injury last year against the Baltimore Ravens. Both he and Tristan Wirfs, the Buccaneers left tackle, practiced today, and Todd Bowles, the Buccaneers coach, was pleased with how each player looked. Doesn't sound like they'll be ready to play this week, but they're beginning to ramp up both players with the hope and belief that they'll be ready here in a couple of weeks.
And of course, the Bucs on Monday Night Football. Monday, we have a doubleheader. They'll take on the Texans. Interesting to think about Chris Godwin joining that offense. Emeka Egbuka has already come on strong week one, plus Micah after the loss in Brazil in week one. Additionally, their chance to win the AFC West and chance to win the Super Bowl were both cut in half. And check this out. Rob Gronkowski gave this boxing analogy when talking about the current Chiefs team.
Remember Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas? And Buster Douglas finally beat the crap out of Mike Tyson and made Mike Tyson not invincible anymore. Well, this is kind of the same situation. The Philadelphia Eagles punched him in the face. The Chiefs didn't know how to react to that because no one else was doing that. Well, going into this year now, the Los Angeles Chargers punched them in the face. The Chiefs were like, whoa, they're coming at us. How do we react? Well, they didn't know how to react because no one was doing that before. So the Philadelphia Eagles opened that floodgate of, hey, if you punch these guys in the face, you take it to them, you come out swinging, they're going to fold, and they're not going to be the team that you've been seeing all last year.
I love it. Thanks to the Up and Adams show for that. There was a trampoline behind him. Did you guys notice that? What'd you make of that, Dan?
I was looking at the hydrangeas. You don't make it to 7 straight AFC championship games by being soft, okay? So I will say this. We've talked about that they need to get more explosive offensively, and you give them grace because their number 1 and number 2 wide receiver are out, and one of them is a speedster. That being said, while that's going on, I need my strength to be my strength if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you go back to week 1 against the Chargers, the strength of this offense is supposed to be the interior of their offensive line. And they struggled. They struggled to move people off the line of scrimmage. They struggled in one-on-one situations. They struggled to displace people off the football. If we are going to, if we're the Chiefs offense, survive for some time without our perimeter players at full strength till we find out how to get explosive, we at least got to have our strength be our strength and win, strength be strength and win the interior part of our run game.
It's going to be even harder this week with Jalen Carter going to be out there, going to be playing. Isaiah Pacheco, a guy they need to get going. I look at this offense though at the same time, and I'm like, how do they figure out a way to be more explosive? Everyone's going to talk about going into this game is to attack Adoree Jackson. He's the weak link. I don't know that they have the guys to do so. I look at this game Friday night. You get in a situation, the Chargers are man-to-man all over the board. You pause this tape right here. Who is Patrick Mahomes supposed to throw the ball to? For Adoree Jackson, this game he matches up way better. There are no George Pickens out there. There is no CeeDee Lamb out there. They have speed guys like Tyquan Thornton. They have a guy like Hollywood Brown, smaller guys that are thinner. Adoree matches up really well. I don't see an advantage for the Chiefs when it comes to that.
Yeah, and the Eagles' coverage is often one of those match coverages, right? Yes. You come to me and I stick to you, and really more often than not, the Chiefs have people open when it's that 5 to 8 yard route. Sure, you can get them open because it's a little bit softer. Yeah. Once you get 10, 12, 15 yards downfield, that's when they're getting locked up a little bit more. But to your point, if there is a week to have some success in the pass game, it's opposite Quinyon Mitchell and against the Eagles. And I want to see how Adoree plays now that pass rushing defensive tackle's back.
Yeah, if they're trying to create explosive plays, they won't have Rashee Rice back until week 6, but we'll watch for that matchup against Adoree Jackson in this game. All right, let's go to Bo Nix and the Broncos, staying in the AFC West. The Broncos beat the Titans in week 1, but quarterback Bo Nix struggled. His 19 total QBR was third worst by any starter last week in front of only Tua Tagovailoa and Cam Ward. Nix was the only quarterback to win his start week 1 and post a QBR lower than 50. Peter, how's this team feeling about their second-year quarterback coming off a performance like that?
Might have been his worst performance of his career. Through 2 bad interceptions, turnovers, obviously, and yet they won. And one of the things that my Broncos sources actually liked was Bo just kept getting up and was lifting the team. Like, he didn't play great, but if you saw him at the end of the first half, he was rallying his teammates, and he was the one trying to get them all together. They survived this game. You need to survive and advance in this league. They are 1-0, just like the Chargers are, just like the Raiders are. They have no fears that Bo Nix isn't the guy. We know that, and it's a long season. The hope is week 1, get it out of the way, play the team you should win against, and they did. I would say here we're going to see a much different version of Bo Nix in week 2.
And I think the team felt like the defense carried it. And when the Broncos look around the league, it was not just Bo Nix that struggled in week 1. Probably half the quarterbacks in the league did not have the type of game that they would like. And I think that's how they feel it is. Week 1 is always one of the more unpredictable weeks of the season. Difficult to know exactly how it's going to go. They expect more and believe they'll get more out of Bo Nix starting on Sunday against Indianapolis. Hard to imagine Denver's going on the road to an Indianapolis team that dominated Miami last week and is still favored by the odds makers to win that game. So clearly, even though Bo Nix struggled, Las Vegas still believes in Bo Nix.
What did you tell me about week 1?
It's a liar.
It's a liar. Okay, so
Don't believe it,
people have
folks.
struggled. Exactly. And along those lines, coming up next, Peter Schrager introduces us to the most 0-2 doesn't mean your season is over, but consider this. Since the playoffs expanded to 14 teams in 2020, just 5 of the 70 teams to make the playoffs started 0-2. That's 7% of the playoff teams. So there's a chance, but it's not a good chance. So let's take a look at some 0-1 teams that don't want to go 0-2. How do they avoid that trend to get back on track this week? J-Mac, we start in Houston with the Texans hosting the Bucs on Monday night.
The Houston Texans, it starts with protecting C.J. Stroud. New offensive coordinator Nick Caley has come in and given C.J. Stroud more of the responsibility when it comes to setting protections. They have to figure out a way to keep him clean. He took way too many hits in that game early on, and it doesn't give him the opportunity to get the ball out. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they are coming. Todd Bowles draws it up, brings people from all over the place. They have to get this corrected from week 1.
Let's go to the Pats. They lost to Vegas in week 1. Dan, how do they avoid the same fate Sunday in Miami?
Well, getting better weather. They were in a torrential downpour in New England this past week, and I'd say number 1, somebody opposite Keyshawn Boutt's got to become a viable threat down the field. Steph looked okay, but Keyshawn was the guy that Drake May, when he wanted to get some chunk throws, was looking for. Someone else, wide receiver-wise, has to step up in that regard. Number 2, they have to find a quick passing game for this offense. It's not going to be a dominant run game, but to get some efficient pass game, Drake May's got to play a little quicker with the throws, and that's going to help their offense sustain some drives.
Sheffy, the Cowboys couldn't pull off the upset in Philly last week. What issues do they face as they try to avoid an 0-2 start?
This is a team that lost Deron Bland, the nickelback, so that's going to be a problem for the Cowboys on Sunday as they try to avoid that 0-2 start. They'll have to replace Bland, who could be out multiple weeks due to a foot injury that he suffered in practice on Monday. But here's what the Cowboys can lean into. There haven't been many quarterbacks better than Dak Prescott has been against the New York Giants. If we go back to 2017, Dak is 15-1 against the New York Giants in the starts. They get the Giants in their home opener, and the numbers in history favor Dak Prescott.
I hear you. The one thing is that Giants defensive front, different deal these days. All right, something we'll have to give when the Bears and the Detroit Lions face off on Sunday. Both teams lost their opener. So let's start on the Bears side. Dan, what needs to change for Caleb Williams this week?
His body has to catch up with his eyes, and that's something that stood out on Monday night against the Vikings was his eyes were so hurried, and he's playing catch-up trying to get himself in position to throw, and that's something he struggled with. So I want you guys to see how quickly Caleb catches the snap. He's ready to throw right now. Now, when he's ready to throw, these guys are 1 and 2 yards downfield. There's no timing to that, but right now his eyes are telling him, get off, get off, get off. And even though if he had a little bit more patience, he would have had DJ Moore there, but he's already panicked backside. Now, it leads to a completion and all that, but that's not the premise of the play. Once again, look how quick his eyes are, ready to throw right now. He's 2 yards down the field, he's 3 yards down the field. So his eyes tell him, I gotta get off, because the timing of my eyes or clock are speeding up. And now the natural reaction will find one of those two guys, and again, he scrambles around and makes a play, but that's what I'm saying, the lower half isn't connected to his upper half. Another opportunity, there goes the motion, Caleb wants to throw right now. His eyes are telling him to throw the ball, but those guys are 3 and 4 yards down the field. And so that he feels sped up because he's been staring in a certain direction for so long. I think this has a little bit to do with young player, new offense, trying to do the right thing. But you want to make sure that his eyes slow down a little bit, play fast, not hurried, and then the lower half has got to be in sync with it. That's something for Bears fans to pay attention to this weekend.
As we told you on Monday Night Football, he's watched a ton of Matthew Stafford film for footwork help, trying to see everything that Matthew does. But still, it's hard to execute in game.
And this is why all season we said it's just going to take hundreds of reps for him to get comfortable with, and hopefully he does.
Let's get J-Mac in here for a second. When you're trying to defend a guy like Caleb, do some of the issues that Dan just highlighted make it a little easier for the defender?
It can go both ways because the tough thing, and we saw that in both halves with Caleb Williams. In the first half, where he's dropping his eyes, now he's looking to scramble. So there were opportunities where he didn't get the ball down the field, but he was making plays with his legs. And there's nothing more terrifying for a defense than when you have a quarterback that's as dangerous as him, when he goes to tuck it, because now anybody can be open, and now he has all 53 yards at his disposal.
I think one of the things that I would often hear defensive coaches talk about in relation to young quarterbacks that had this in their game was, he'll show you where he wants to throw the football. Like, his eyes will take you to where the ball wants to go. And I think that's something that he's going to have to learn is when you catch that snap and you're looking right away where you want to go, everyone's just going to play zone against you because you're going to bring all those guys to the party, right? Is that something that you guys will pick up on tape and stuff?
Absolutely. Xavier Howard said it about Tua this past weekend, where when you take away his first read, he starts to get panicked. What you just described on Caleb Williams, he has the ball, he's looking.
And he looks so quick.
It's not there.
Some of those times he caught the snap, and it was like, I want to throw the ball there, and I feel like those are speeding him up.
Ben Johnson had preached to him, get the ball out quick, and completions. So even if it wasn't the home run, he was trying to make as many.
I think he's trying to do the right thing.
It's both ends of the spectrum. From last year where you're holding it too long, now this year you're trying to make sure you get it there right away. You've got to find some middle ground, and to your point, with the reps eventually.
And then you don't want to go to the extreme of trying to be somebody like a Matthew Stafford, where, Jason McCourty's playing in the center of the field, and I know I wanted to throw it over there, and I'm just looking over here for so long, and then all of a sudden you muddy your picture.
You're watching Stafford now, and you got to go back and probably watch year 2 Matthew Stafford and see the progression to where he got to, where now he can manipulate and move defenses to where he wants.
Would you guys, though, as a defense, would you guys talk about that, like the eyes stuff, and be like, hey, wherever he looks, run?
We used to talk about it with Russell Wilson when he was young and he was in Seattle, where he was so good, but when he would get the ball, he would look for the slant. If the slant wasn't there with Doug Baldwin, now he's taken off. So everybody's prepared, especially the defensive line, to know that everybody's at the point of attack.
That's what the Lions defense will be looking to do this week. Let's get a little bit more on the Lions side of that as we go to the NFL Live Lounge with Peter.
Yes. Good afternoon and welcome to the NFL Live Lounge. The most interesting man in the NFL this week is Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a former #1 overall pick, has played in a Super Bowl, 2 conference title games, and has beaten Drew Brees in New Orleans with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. He ranks in the top 40 all-time in NFL history in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and completions. And he's still just 30 years old. On paper, Jared Goff is a made man. And yet, after 1 week of year 10 of his NFL career, the doubters are coming out of the woodwork. See, in the offseason, Goff lost his longtime play caller when his former offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, left Detroit to be the head coach of the rival Bears. Goff's first game without Johnson was dreadful. Detroit's offense was feckless in Green Bay, and Goff didn't look like the guy who Lions fans were chanting, Jared Goff, Jared Goff, for at the NFL draft a year ago. Jared Goff's 5.8 yards per pass attempt on Sunday was close to 3 yards fewer than he averaged last year, when he ranked second in the league behind only Lamar Jackson. Goff threw a pick, he was sacked 4 times, and the fireworks of that offense that he orchestrated last year had no sizzle and no spark. Look, Goff's had great success in this league, but the stat that is being tossed around this week is bleak and damning. In games where Sean McVay and Ben Johnson weren't on his sideline or calling the plays, Jared Goff is now 3-18-1. Oh, and the football gods are funny. Guess who he's against this Sunday? You got it. Ben Johnson's Bears. Look, I don't think it's time to panic in Detroit just yet. And Jared Goff is too damn good and too damn accomplished to have to listen to critics after one bad game. But if Sunday doesn't go well, if Detroit loses, if Jared Goff falters again, just a year after the Lions were the 1 seed and had the best offense in the NFL, well, we may be having a different conversation on Monday morning.
Oh, I love it. I want to go to the lounge. I guess we all just went there together. Peter, beautiful.
What a nice piece by Peter. Now, the only thing I would say is it's early September. Maybe we could have a fall setting. You know, we say that
That
for
was
November,
too cozy?
December.
No, come on.
It's
All right.
78 up.
But seriously, so Peter's bringing up an interesting point here. With Goff, is it that Sean McVay or Ben Johnson was just like the key here? They're magicians of sorts as offensive minds, and Jared Goff is the beneficiary, and now that he doesn't have either one of those, he's just going to come back down to earth and become a Cinderella of sorts? Or is it just that he had a week 1 struggle?
I would tell you that quarterbacks are often tied to their play caller. And the play caller elevates the quarterback. And when the play caller's gone, it drops the quarterback down. I think that when you look at all the great quarterbacks in our league right now, they're often attached to really good play callers. And that doesn't make Jared Goff a lesser quarterback. It's just the reality of the world. It's hard to play that position when you don't have advantages created by your play call. And so I think Jared's shown who he is with big-time play callers, and I think a lot of quarterbacks would have struggled this past weekend in Detroit's offense. I don't think there's a lot of guys that would have found success.
I look at it, and it's only week 2, and we can all overreact. But at the same time, to your point, Shregs, the situation that's in front of us, Ben Johnson is coming back to Detroit. It's like the kid left to go to college, and he called back to check on mom and dad, and they're going through it. They done found out they don't like each other, on the brink of divorce. So, like, Ben Johnson's coming back, and he's looking at this home, and now for Jared Goff, for Dan Campbell, for Johnny Morton, like, you have to figure this thing out, because I look at this offense. If they go in there, it's not about winning or losing the game. If this offense look like it's in complete disarray, and we're talking about Jahmyr Gibbs and his yards per catch that he has, the explosive element completely being removed, we're really going to question what Jared Goff can do.
Before you jump, let me say something. For everyone who wants to go, well, Jared Goff, guess what? Jahmyr Gibbs is great. He didn't look like Jahmyr Gibbs. Sam Laporta's really good. Didn't look like Sam Laporta. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't look like Amon-Ra St. Brown. So it's not just the quarterback feeling the loss of Ben Johnson.
I would add this. There's a lot of noise in Detroit this week. Dan Campbell seemed a little frustrated with the reporters who kept on asking questions. John Morton seems what is that, right? So there seems to be a lot of noise after 1 week. I think Goff is a made man in this league. 4-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl appearance, I think it's crazy. At 30 years old, he still has those critics. And yet, that stat is damning. 3-18-1 when he doesn't have McVay or Ben Johnson on those sidelines.
By the way, here's another stat that may be encouraging for Lions fans. Goff has won his last 10 games following a loss.
Let's go.
Likes to bounce back.
Come on, Jared.
Find whatever numbers we want.
Positivity, Laura.
We're spinning it. Okay, coming up. Joe Burrow and the Bengals got the win in week 1, but it was ugly. Hear how Dan thinks they can get right against the Jets. Sheet presented by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Dan, you first. Is Jaden Daniels in with at least 45 rushing yards tonight?
I'm going to go more. And the reason why is I expect Washington to play no huddle, try to put Micah Parsons in conflict, meaning not block him, And so you got to pay attention to Jaden. You got to pay attention to Debo. I think Micah's going to be over aggressive at times. Maybe think when he's tired. That's going to allow Jaden to run. Also, when he's rushing, Jaden ain't going to hang back there in the pocket and let Micah chase him down. I expect him to take off a couple times as well.
Peter, speaking of Micah, he got his first sack as a Packer last week. He was hunting people down. Over under half a sack for him tonight.
Well, I think the more interesting over will be whether he gets more than 30 snaps. I think he will. I think he's going to be on the field a bit. He's had a history with Jaden Daniels, played him twice, and he did sack him a few times. I'm going to say over. Micah Parsons gets at least 1 sack tonight.
Hey, we're hammering the over so far. J-Mac, Matthew Golden had 2 catches in his NFL debut last week. Over under 2.5 receptions for him in this one.
We're hammering the over. I might as well go ahead and stick with it.
don't be an under guy.
I'm going over on this, and I hate to do it because it's a wide receiver. I want DBs to blanket these guys. But at the same time, Matthew Golden was open quite a bit in their game this past week. I think the coaches go back and look at it. They say, hey, let's figure out a way to get this guy some more touches and targets. I think it happens tonight.
All right, now listen, y'all, a $10 bet on this would win you just under 45 bucks.
Let's go.
Hey, big money.
Last week.
You guys are hitting them.
Close last week now.
Close.
No,
2
I
out of
hit.
3, right?
Yeah, I hit.
Yeah, well, of course you did.
Yeah.
It was Dan that didn't hit.
on.
Okay, football is back, and right now, new ESPN Bet customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 bet. Score more from the game with the Sportsbook for sports fans. Sign up with the promo code LIVE to get started today. All right, let's talk Bengals, you guys, and Joe Burrow. Cincinnati won, but in a rare occasion, Joe Burrow struggled. Actually, it was the defense that stepped up, not the story last year. A little change for this season so far. Burrow completed just 14 of 23 passes for 113 yards and a touchdown. Dan, do you see the issues from last week arising again for Burrow and company as the Jags come to town, or is that just a one-week thing for him?
That was a Myles Garrett thing. that was Joe Burrow
makes sense.
on multiple occasions leaving the pocket too soon. And it's not that he doesn't trust it or it didn't feel that way week 1. It was, don't let Myles Garrett ruin the game. Don't let Myles Garrett ruin the game. And as the game went on, you would justify and say, yeah, I understand where Joe's coming from. So Joe's one of the, if not the best pocket manipulators and movers in the league. And so I would fully expect that we see a little bit more of that vintage Joe Burrow in the pocket, because you're not sitting there going, Myles Garrett's on the field every single snap, and I can't allow him to ruin the game because we can't block him.
This offense is so loaded, both on paper and on the field, and they've got so much consistency from last year. There is no unknown. I mean, Zach Taylor's been the coach for 5 years with Joe Burrow. Dan Pitcher, the offensive coordinator, has been with him all 5 years. All those weapons, this is at least their second year together. I would expect them to come out guns blazing, fired up, and lighten the ball all over the field at home against a Jaguars defense that isn't even close to what they saw against Cleveland. That was an anomaly, and I know we make excuses for everyone here and there, and we say, well, this one, I truly believe Joe Burrow is still going to be on pace to break records this year. That's how good this offense is. I wouldn't look too far into week 1.
Yeah, not many quarterbacks have great numbers against Myles Garrett.
And I'd also say, like, there's like 4 or 5 throws in that game that are sideline missed by a toe that if they make those catches, there's 27 snaps, or 27 points. Like, you remember the Myles Garrett hit?
Yes.
Joe Burrow put that ball flawlessly on the sideline, and they just don't drag the toe.
What are you going to do? Okay, so Peter alluded to it, but J-Mac, is there a spot in that Jags defense you think Burrow can really take advantage of?
I'm very interested in, we've already heard Liam Cohen say that Travis Hunter is going to play more on the defensive side of the ball this week. And I'm excited to see him be able to do that. If I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, what I would challenge with Travis Hunter is how much can he communicate with the rest of the defense? I would put him in stacks and bunches. I would motion and have him involved in that. One of the challenges when you're going both ways for him is going to be time on task. For the guys in the defensive secondary, you're doing things week in and week out, day in and day out, and you're communicating and you're talking about the way you're going to play things. You're going to miss some of that when you're on the other side of the ball. If you just line him up on the outside and let him go one-on-one against somebody, you're making the job easier for him. Involve him in all of the things that forces communication amongst the defense.
This was crazy to me. Burrow has never won a Week 2 game in his career. He's 0-5. So here's a
weird
chance. Well, some of the time he was hurt. Sometimes they just struggled with those slow starts. He did play in the preseason this year.
It's 2-0. Can I change everything I said about him bouncing back?
I love a stat like that. All right, new on NFL Live. Browns defensive back Grant Delpit may have been an enemy at his press conference today. Listen to this.
How does knowing that you have to be concerned about Derrick Henry, how does that make Lamar Jackson and more effective?
They either got to run the ball or pass the ball, so that's their 2 best players on offense.
Okay, so that, if you missed it, Talking about tackling Derrick Henry, saying it just really ain't no thing. J-Mac, you played against Henry, and we dove into the tape, so we've got the evidence here. No, this is good. Ah, look at his face. Check this out. Check this out.
Don't
We're
do
going
my
to show
guy
you.
wrong.
Nervous.
J-Mac against Derrick Henry. Okay, so you can see on the screen.
All right, come on, Jay.
J-Mac's
Make a
there
play,
at the top
J-Mac.
of the
Make
screen.
a play. You got motion.
Marcus Mariota.
Come on, get out of here. Get out of here. Okay, get out of here. Do your assignment, baby. Don't. Hey, this is year 10. Year 10, you gotta start to make business decisions. I'm about to go ahead, 32 years old, Derrick Henry, young, spry, 11, 6'27", 250 pounds. I'm a $190. Hey, what's up, Mariota? Yeah, you got. They won that game. I will say.
Yeah, let's go on.
We won the Super Bowl.
Hey, dunked on him.
Marcus Mariota was not beating you that play.
You didn't make any plays in the Super Bowl.
You were nothing in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know, it's a joke. Game
were you?
saving, Super Bowl saving.
He made the Super Bowl saving
Hey,
play.
I have an idea. Next week on this show, bring your Super Bowl ring.
Oh, wow.
Put that thing out. Like, just subtle.
I'll bring mine.
Here. Oh,
Did UConn win a?
you got a
Did you
you
win
got a
a bowl-
replica
a bowl
of
game?
somebody else's, or yeah. All right.
J-Mac
Go
goes up, by the
Puppies.
way, we won the Super Bowl.
That was incredible. By the way, none of this is ever planned, and that just happened.